Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mike Tabor, and welcome to our Keystroke POS Live, and we're going to go over the Godex label printer. I'm going to go ahead and mute the crowd while I go through some different aspects of the Godex label printer, and then you can certainly use the chat while you're muted, and then I'll answer questions near the end of the session. Bless you, whoever that was. Again, we're doing the Godex label printer today, and again, this is Keystroke Live. We're doing it at 10 o'clock every Wednesday. Let's talk about the Godex label printer. I have one here on the desk. This one is a DT-EZ4. It's a 4-inch wide carriage. It's kind of heavy, so I won't be picking it up, but I might show you some labels that I've been trying to print today on some old label stock, and these are like shelf tags. And this is a USB printer. It comes with software. It allows you to actually do a little bit more of a visual. What you see is what you get, kind of a customization of labels. There is a trick on getting that information into Keystroke, and we'll go over that. And it's a simple setup. Once the printer is installed in Windows, we just go ahead and use the driver, the plain driver in Keystroke, and we'll do the direct to Windows printer. Well, first what I'm going to do is open up the label software. They call it QLabel. It's QLabel 4, or Roman numeral 4, and it opens up looking like this. This is a software that Godex provides on the CD and does get installed by default if you just do a standard installation. Over time, we have made some labels in their program. I'm going to open one that was made and we actually ship. We're going to start with this one here. This is a 1x2. And notice that this file name is an EZP. That is their actual extension that they use. When I open this up, let's see if I can get this in maybe not so maximized mode. Easier said than done with this running. This might just help the presentation a little bit, or at least allow me to get around a little better. This right here is a 1x2 label. I'm going to turn out the grid lines. This might be able to show this a little bit better, and I'll actually be able to zoom in. I've blown this up, and in the next slide I'll be showing, but this actually is a designing software here, and you can go through and pick like the information you want and move it around. So if I wanted to move the price and maybe have it right justified in this lower corner here, I can make a move to that. Now you say, how does Keystroke know this? This is the good news about this. First of all, I'm going to blow this up just a little bit. This is still a 1x2 label. I'm just using their software to blow it up. The QLabel software actually has an export function. That's this little arrow to the right here. You can also go and find it up at the advanced menu at the top. And by clicking on it, it shows some code. And the goal is to get the code into Keystroke, and then that's how it's going to print a label. Notice that every line has a carriage return at the end of it, so that this is actually printing top to bottom. Some of the variable information would be the information down here. This is the barcode line, this BQ line. And what I like about this program is that, yeah, there's different commands and so forth, but I don't need to know them. I can just go ahead and move something around. Let's say if I want to move this to a different place, maybe over here, I can just go ahead and hit the refresh button by clicking that little button here. That's the arrow pointing to the right. By clicking it, it updates the information. I'll see if I can make a change here, and notice down here where you see the price, this line right here is going to probably change. If I click on the arrow now, it actually changes it. It changes these coordinates, the XY coordinates, and so forth. If I wanted to change the font and make it bigger or smaller, I can use their tools in here to do that, and it would actually, by re-clicking, refreshing this export button here, it would refresh the actual code. So you say, Mike, how do I get this in Keystroke? Well, the good news is we have some kind of templates and so forth. First of all, I'm going to open a different file. I'm going to open up a rotated form. This is a 1x3, and notice I hope you can see this preview dialog. As I click the file without double clicking it, it kind of shows me what it's supposed to look like. But I'm going to open up the 1x3 file. I'm going to turn off the grid lines just for this example. And this is actually a rotated 90-degree label that will come out of the printer. So based on your label stock, you would determine, am I going to print it rotated or not? And you can use their tools inside of this program here to rotate the entire label. And again, by clicking the little export button here on the right, it actually shows you what the code should be. Well, let's go into Keystroke and see what this code looks like and how we interpret it. I'm going to use this 1x3 rotated as an example here. And now I'm going to jump into Keystroke. In Keystroke, we're just going to go to Label Manager. And I have already set up the printer, but I'll show you how I set it up. I'm just going to go to Price and by Item. Now you can actually use these Godex printers to print mailing labels, UPC labels, anything you really want to do, whether it's inventory, vendors, contacts. You can print department tags if you think you need that. Anything can be really done with this type of a label printer. Well, for our example today, it's just going to be inventory, stock, number, price tags, or shelf tags. Well, here we have a label I've been playing with this morning. And what I had done is I had taken that label and tried to make it work for this label stock here. What's good about the Q Designer is it actually measures the label stock, prints a label, and it'll tell you all the dimensions, so you don't need to know the code. That's the kind of the good stuff. But I'm going to go find the one that we have, the 1x3 rotated barcode. I'm going to hit F3 to edit this. And we're going to take a look at the code here. As you notice, there's some different values on every line. The good news is you don't need to know these, but here's the trick about this. When I send I'm going to hit enter on this line. When I send this field text, which is a caret symbol, Q76, comma 3, I send these squiggly braces also, which include the number 13, which is a carriage return. I'll jump back into the Q label. So what I'm sending is Q76, comma 3, and then from here to get down to this next line is actual carriage return. Without that, the program will just run all these strings together and you'll never get the printer to work. So back to Keystroke. We're going to go ahead and look at some more of the code. So here we have the Q76 command, the W54, and so forth. And I don't need to actually know all these commands because I can just put them on one line by themselves. Notice that there's no spaces before. That's the track character. Notice that the width is set to 0. That allows it to be a variable width. And let's go on down, all the way down to what I call the variable information. This is where the description is going to print. And because it varies, here's the trick in Keystroke. We send the command, the variable data, which is the description, and then we send that carriage return at the very end. So let's go back and look at the code and what it would look like. By the way, it would start with an AD command, and this is right after the time, hours, minutes, seconds command. So we go down here. Whoops, sorry, better make this visible for you all. So we go down here, and after the time, hours, minutes, second command, we see the AD line. So this is a type A font, and then the D is its size, and that's only because I happen to know these things. You don't need to know them. Then you notice from here all the way over to here, just before the D in description, we have a command. And then we have the description goes here, in this case, with some numbers. And you'll see it actually over in this area right here. It's rotated. And then after the 12, after the 1, 2 at the end of this number, there is another carriage return. So going back to Keystroke, we go ahead and take a look at that. Here's the AD command. Here's the inventory description. Here's the 13 at the end. And then so forth and so on. Now, what's good is you can use some of our defaults tags here to get things close. So I can pick a 1x2 barcoded form here and try to match it up with the other barcodes in my label designer. These files, if I go back to my label designer, that we've made these files the EZP extensions. We could send them to you if we needed to, if you need to do so, or you can just come right into this and start a brand new template. You can just click on the new button in here. It brings up some information on the paper height, the paper width, the dimensions, and so forth. And this is labeled gap kind of paper or plain paper. Once you set this up, and this is in millimeters, you say OK, then it kind of comes up with a default form. But I could just create a new one and change these. Let's say this is a 3 by, let's see, it's actually 25 by 75. How about? That's kind of like a 1x3 in millimeters. 10 by 54. Between 10 and 54. Okay. That's a 1x2 label. So there's like a 1x2 label, and you can change that aspect ratio. And this is where you could just come in and add a barcode by clicking on the barcode. You can pick which type you want it to be, code 128, say OK. And I'm saying yes to this just to throw any data in there. Then I can size it, move it, and so forth, and continue on. So you can start in this process just by a brand new label. And if you want to see the code, you click the little right arrow, and it shows you the code. And really all we have done here is created this line right here that says, here's one barcode. And it's got the text of 4321 in it. And this could actually be, I could change this on the right side. Sorry if you can't see all of that. And then I could just click this left arrow and it'll bring it back, the information back here. So if I wanted a label that, let's just had a left justified right there. As I get more and more characters, it's going to get bigger. And now I'll export it back out. By the way, now it has the different dimensions on it and so forth. So that's kind of how the label designer works. You can spend many hours tinkering around and playing with this. What you need to really learn from this operation is how do I get this into Keystroke? And the trick is to kind of break it into 3 lines. There would be the first line, the BQ line, all the way up to, I call it the variable data. The variable data would be the product code, and what you don't visually see right here is actually a carriage return. So let's print some labels. I'm going to go back into Keystroke here. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to use, whenever you put new label stock into the printer like this, this is kind of old label stock, so it's not as, the ink isn't as good, or the heat treatment isn't as good. It's a thermal printer. What we would do here is you just set it up in the label designer, kind of does a measuring of the label and finds out its width, and then you just have to make those minor changes. I call it the Q value. Let's go ahead and use the one that I've set up here in Keystroke. This is the one I created, and it just had some minor changes. It was actually coming up with an error signal before I started printing. I took it to the label designer. It figured out the label size and width and gave me some different numbers to put at the top. And so some of these numbers at the very top had changed. I'd like to show you one other thing. This is an example here where you can put multiple things on the same line as long as they're separated by the 13 and the squiggly braces. I'm going to jump back again right here to, so this Q25 command and this command and the H10 command and the P1 command can all be put on one line as long as they are separated by the 13 and the squiggly braces. So it's either way. We have some forms that have one example, some forms that have another. There is a limit to 30 characters, I believe, in the label, in the keystroke label form. So this line right here needs to remain within 30 characters. Well, I'm going to go ahead and use this tag that I've kind of just fine-tuned. I'm not going to make any changes to it. Just going to use it. But I wanted to show you the setup for the printer. Now remember, in current versions of Keystroke, we can go ahead and just set up a printer on the fly. If this did not exist, I could hit Insert to create a new one. I can delete a printer if I wanted to. I can put it anywhere on this list I want it to be. And the key here is we don't want to interrupt this code getting itself from Keystroke to the printer, so we use either the none driver or the plain driver. And the port is going to be our direct to Windows printer. Older versions of Keystroke could use this, but you don't have the direct to Windows printer option. It becomes a process of capturing a printer port to actually be able to talk directly to it. When I select direct to Windows printer, I get my Godex printer up here. I hit enter on it. It puts an asterisk here in the port that just denotes to me that it's the direct to Windows printer. Then nothing in the run command. So I say OK. I've just got a label printer misspelled up here at the top, and that's fine with me. I'm going to select it. And now I'm ready to print. I do have the printer turned on. I'm going to print one of a couple of different labels here. And if you can or cannot hear anything, nothing is printing at this time. Now one label came out, and that's because the Windows buffer has filled up, but not all three labels have come out yet. And now a second one has come out. And then I'm going to hit the escape key here, and then the rest of the labels will come out. And I have, I should have cleared my label stock. I have been reusing label stock today, so some of these look like they're printed on top of the other one. But that's the eventual product. There's a label coming out. I can print 5 of one. Sometimes a lot with these specialty printers, you might go out and print 18 labels, and you'll say, well, what happened? Only 17 came out. Then you close Keystroke and 2 more come out. So keep in mind that we send a clear to the printer buffer when we hit the escape key or close Keystroke, so any remaining labels will come out. Just happens to be the size of Windows. Windows XP acts differently than Windows 7 and Windows 8. So I'm just going to just make 1 or 2 more here. And there I selected 4, a quantity of 4 for that one item. I'm going to hit escape. And now I'm getting to my good label stock. So here's 4 of the same label. This is kind of more of a shelf tag. You can do very small labels. You have to get tricky with the barcode and so forth. Make sure it's legible. You can make the anything like you want. You can just go into the label designer and make the price bolder or bigger, or put it in a different location if you'd like. So that's kind of a quick overview of the labels. Let me get back to the Q Label Designer program. I'm going to just show you actually a picture here. So this up here at the top is what a 1 by 2 inch label looks like, but I've blown it up to twice its size. This right here is I think it's a 2 by 3 inch label, rotated, and those are some examples I just put on the slideshow here. Well, I'll go ahead and unmute everybody at this time, and we'll ask some questions. And I see a first question was typed in. Looks like Scott Welch had asked, can we put graphics on this label? And I do believe you can. I'm not the actual expert. I'm going to switch over to the Q Label Designer program. And there are some different areas of different types of barcodes, two-dimensional barcodes, but you're probably thinking about, can I put a customer's logo on this? And I don't know if I have the answer at this time, to be honest. It's something I could look into. But, yeah, I don't know if they would load a bitmap like the olden days. You would load a bitmap into its memory and then ask it to print. So that would be a good question I'll have to get back to you on. And I'm sure if I tinker around long enough, I'd either find it or not find it, and then I could go and ask more about it. So something tells me I think you can be able to do that, and it's probably something you have to load in memory, and it would go from there. Oops, I think I closed out of that. Are there any other questions? All right, well, thanks very much, and we do not ship those EPZ files, but if you call, we can get them available for you. We're going to have them on our F drive available. So if you need those, those are kind of nice to get a start from, where you can just put them into the program, then start moving things around the way you like it. But sometimes starting from scratch is just as easy. All right, well, next week, Dave Hunsinger will be going over the Seiko receipt printer, the RP-D10 receipt printer. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great day.